The dinner rush at Sakura House hits like a tsunami at 6:30 p.m., and I'm already drowning. My feet ache in the cheap non-slip shoes I bought at a discount store 3 months ago, the left one splitting at the seam. The kitchen bell rings incessantly, orders backing up while Marcus, the new server, fumbles with the POS system for the third time tonight. Yuki, table 4 needs water refills. Chen calls from the host stand, her voice tight with stress. And table 7 just sat. VIP reservation. VIP. The word makes my stomach clench. In the 6 months I've worked at this upscale Japanese restaurant in Midtown Manhattan, I've learned that VIP means demanding, particular, and usually terrible tippers despite spending hundreds. But I paste on my professional smile, grab a water pitcher, and make my rounds. Table 4 is easy. A young couple on what looks like a third date, him trying too hard, her clearly charmed. I refill their glasses, confirm their order is coming, and move toward table 7. That's when I see them. The private alcove at the back of the restaurant, normally reserved for business dinners and anniversaries, tonight hosts only 2 men. The younger one sits with his back to the wall, a habit I recognize from the ex-boyfriend I fled 2 years ago, always watching exits, always aware. He's probably in his mid-30s, wearing a suit that costs more than my monthly rent, his dark hair styled with casual precision. Japanese features, but something American in the set of his shoulders, the way he occupies space without apology. But it's the older man who makes me stop breathing. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. He sits with perfect posture, wearing a traditional dark kimono over Western dress pants, an unusual combination that somehow works on him. His silver hair is cut short, face lined with age but eyes sharp as broken glass. Everything about him radiates old-world authority, the kind that doesn't need to raise its voice to be obeyed. Chen appears at my elbow, her whisper urgent. That's Hiroshi Takeda. He flew in from Osaka this morning. The younger one is his son Keigo. The owner's been nervous all day. She grips my arm. Do not mess this up, Yuki. Whatever they want, they get. My mouth goes dry. Takeda. Even I've heard whispers of that name, usually followed by Yakuza, by connections that stretch from Tokyo to New York, by money that flows through channels no tax authority will ever trace. Why me? I ask, my voice barely audible. Jenny has more experience. Jenny called in sick. Marcus is useless. You're fluent, you know the menu, and you don't ask stupid questions. Chen's eyes bore into mine. Professional, efficient, and invisible. Can you do that? I nod, my hands already smoothing down my black apron, checking that my hair is still neatly pinned. Invisible. I've become an expert at that since leaving Seattle, since cutting ties with everyone who knew me before, since rebuilding a life from nothing in a city that doesn't care if you sink or swim. I approach the table with steady steps, eyes downcast in a gesture of respect I learned from my grandmother before she passed. The younger man, Keigo, looks up first, his gaze assessing me with the clinical precision of someone used to evaluating threats and assets. His eyes are dark brown, almost black in the restaurant's warm lighting, and there's something predatory in the way he watches me approach. But it's the father I focus on, instinct telling me he's the one who matters. I stop at the precise distance my grandmother taught me, close enough to serve, far enough to show respect. And then I bow, not the casual nod Americans offer, but a proper Japanese bow, 15 degrees, held for the appropriate beat. Irashaimase, I say, then switch seamlessly to formal Keigo, the respectful Japanese reserved for honored elders and important occasions. Takeda-sama, welcome to Sakura House. It is our greatest honor to serve you this evening. Please allow this unworthy person to ensure your comfort. The words flow from some deep memory, my grandmother's patient voice drilling proper forms into me through childhood summers in her Kyoto apartment. I haven't spoken Keigo in years, not since her funeral, but it returns like muscle memory, each phrase perfectly formed, each honorific precisely placed. Silence, the kind that makes the air feel thick, that makes my heart hammer against my ribs even as I maintain my composure. I keep my eyes lowered, waiting, aware that I've either impressed them or massively overstepped. Then Hiroshi Takeda laughs. It's not mocking. It's genuine, warm, surprised. Kaido, he says in rapid Japanese, did you know this restaurant employed someone with proper upbringing? He leans forward slightly, and I risk raising my eyes to meet his. What is your name, child? Nakamura Yuki, Takeda-sama. I reply in Japanese, using my family name first as is proper. My grandmother was Nakamura Emiko, from Kyoto. Something flickers in his eyes. Recognition? Interest? Nakamura Emiko of the Gion district? My heart skips. Hi, Takeda-sama. He exchanges a glance with his son, something passing between them I can't read. Then he smiles, the expression transforming his severe face into something almost grandfatherly. Your grandmother taught you well. It is rare to find such courtesy in America, even among our own people. You honor me with your words, Takeda-sama, I reply, and I mean it. My grandmother's memory is precious, her teachings the only inheritance she could leave me. Keigo finally speaks, his voice low and smooth with an accent that's pure American despite his Japanese heritage. Your English is native. It's not a question, but I answer anyway, switching languages seamlessly. I was born in Seattle. My mother was American. Was. Hiroshi notes, his English also fluent but carrying the weight of Japanese intonation. You've known loss. It's not really appropriate to discuss with customers, but something about Hiroshi Takeda invites honesty, or maybe commands it. Both parents, Takeda-sama. A car accident when I was 16. My grandmother raised me after that, until she passed 3 years ago. Another glance between father and son. Kaido's expression remains neutral, but his posture has shifted. Less guarded, more attentive. He's studying me now, not as a server, but as something else. Something I'm not sure I want to be. We'll have the omakase, Kaido says, making the decision without consulting his father. Chef's choice, full course. And bring us the Yamazaki 18-year. I bow again, slightly less formal this time. Hi, right away. As I turn to leave, Hiroshi's voice stops me. Yuki-san. I turn back, and his eyes hold mine with an intensity that feels like being X-rayed. You will serve only our table tonight. Tell your manager we require your exclusive attention. It's not a request. Of course, Takeda-sama. In the kitchen, I relay the order to Chef Tanaka, who goes pale when I mention the names. Takeda? Hiroshi Takeda? He grips the edge of his prep counter. We must be perfect, absolutely perfect. No pressure, I mutter, pulling the Yamazaki from the locked liquor cabinet. Chen intercepts me on my way back. What did you do? Mr. Sato just came from his office looking like he's going to have a heart attack. He says you're serving only them for the rest of the night? They requested it, I say, arranging the whiskey and 2 glasses on a tray with hands steadier than I feel. Do you know who they are? Chen hisses. I have some idea. Then you know they're... She cuts herself off, glancing around the busy restaurant. Just be careful, Yuki. Men like that, they're dangerous. I've known dangerous men. My ex-boyfriend taught me what that looks like. The escalating control, the violence that starts small and grows, the isolation that leaves you with nowhere to run. These men feel different, not safer, but dangerous in a different way. The kind of danger that's honest about itself, that doesn't pretend to be something it's not. When I return to their table, they've been joined by two other men in dark suits who stand at a respectful distance, clearly security. Bodyguards. The confirmation of what Chen implied, what I already suspected. I pour the whiskey with steady hands, the amber liquid catching the light. Hiroshi accepts his glass with a nod of approval, but Kaido's eyes never leave my face. "You're different from the other servers," he observes as I set down his glass. "How so?" I ask before I can stop myself, then mentally curse my lack of filter. His mouth curves slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. "You're not afraid." Should I be? Most people are. I meet his eyes directly, something my grandmother would probably scold me for, but I'm American enough to believe in meeting people's gazes. I've learned that fear doesn't keep you safe. Awareness does. This time he does smile, and it transforms his face from merely handsome to something that makes my pulse quicken in a way that has nothing to do with fear. "Smart. The omakase will begin shortly," I say, redirecting the conversation to safer ground. Chef Tanaka asks if there are any dietary restrictions. "No," Hiroshi answers, "but tell your chef we appreciate traditional preparation. Too many Japanese restaurants in America compromise authenticity for Western palates." "I'll convey that, Takeda-sama." The evening proceeds in a strange rhythm. I bring course after course. Sashimi so fresh it glistens, tempura that crackles with each bite, grilled black cod that flakes at the touch of chopsticks. Between courses, I refill drinks, clear plates, and try not to notice how often I catch Kaido watching me. They speak in Japanese, sometimes rapid and businesslike, other times leisurely, discussing everything from politics to art. I understand every word. Property acquisitions in Tokyo, shipping routes through Osaka, someone named Tanaka who needs to be reminded of his obligations. The last phrase makes my stomach tighten. I don't ask what kind of reminder they mean. By the time dessert arrives, delicate mochi filled with red bean paste, the restaurant has thinned out, most tables cleared and reset for tomorrow. It's nearly 11, and my feet feel like they might detach from my body at any moment. As I set down the check folder, not that I expect they'll actually need to look at it, Hiroshi gestures for me to wait. "Sit, Yuki-san." I blink. "Sir?" "Sit," he repeats, gesturing to the empty chair at their table. "You've been on your feet all night. Humor an old man." Looking around, I see Chen watching from the host stand, her eyes wide. Mr. Sato has emerged from his office, his expression unreadable. But I can't refuse a direct request from Hiroshi Takeda, so I sink into the chair, acutely aware of how inappropriate this is, how many invisible rules I'm breaking. "Tell me, Yuki-san," Hiroshi begins, his fingers steepled before him, "what are your ambitions?" The question catches me off guard. "I'm sorry?" "Your dreams. What do you want from life?" I glance at Kaido, who watches this exchange with interest but doesn't intervene. I want stability, I suppose. A life that's mine, that no one can take away." "You've had things taken before," Hiroshi observes. It's not a question. "Yes." "And you came to New York to rebuild." How does he know that? We've only been talking for hours. Unless you had me investigated. "I had my son's people make inquiries," Hiroshi confirms without shame. "You're Japanese. You speak proper Keigo, and you served us with grace uncommon in this city. I wanted to know your story." I should be angry, should feel violated, but mostly I'm just tired. "And what did you learn?" That Nakamura Yuki, age 26, fled Seattle 2 years ago after ending a relationship with a man who put her in the hospital twice. That she came to New York with $300 and a suitcase. That she works 2 jobs, this restaurant and weekend shifts at a bookstore in Queens. That she sends money every month to pay down her grandmother's medical debts. though the old woman is 3 years gone. Hiroshi's eyes soften. That she is alone in this city, and alone is a dangerous way to be. My throat tightens. Hearing my life summarized so clinically, reduced to facts on a page someone compiled in hours, makes the precariousness of my existence visceral. One missed shift, one unexpected expense, and the careful balance I've maintained collapses. Why? I manage to ask. Why do you care? Hiroshi glances at his son and something passes between them. A decision made without words. Because you honored an old man tonight with courtesy he hasn't encountered in decades. Because you speak the language of my youth with the precision of someone who was taught by someone who cared. Because my son needs someone with your particular skills, and I believe you need what he can offer in return. Father, Kaido says, his voice carrying a note of warning. But Hiroshi continues, his gaze locked on mine. My son runs several businesses in New York. Legitimate ones, mostly. The qualifier makes my pulse spike. He needs someone who can navigate both American and Japanese business culture, who can be trusted with sensitive matters, who is intelligent and observant. A translator? I say slowly. More than that. An assistant. A bridge between two worlds. Hiroshi leans forward. The position pays $90,000 a year plus housing and health insurance. You would work directly with Kaido, manage his calendar, translate at meetings, represent his interests with Japanese partners. The number makes my head spin. 90,000. I currently make 32 between both jobs, and that barely covers rent and food and the monthly payments to the hospital that's long since written off grandmother's debt, but still calls every few weeks. Why me? I ask again, because this feels too convenient, too perfect. You could hire any number of professionals. Professionals can be bought by rivals, Kaido says, speaking for the first time in minutes. His voice is measured, controlled. Professionals don't understand loyalty the way someone who has lost everything does. And professionals weren't raised by Nakamura Emiko of Gion, who my father tells me was a woman of impeccable character. You knew my grandmother? Of her, Hiroshi corrects. She worked in the Gion district when I was a young man, before I came to America. Her reputation for discretion and dignity was well known. My grandmother's past has always been somewhat mysterious to me. She rarely spoke of her youth in Kyoto, deflecting questions with gentle redirection. What did she do? She was a manager at one of the Ochaya tea houses, Hiroshi says carefully. She dealt with important men, powerful men, and she never betrayed a confidence. That kind of integrity is rare. The implication sinks in slowly. The Ochaya in Gion are exclusive establishments where geisha entertain wealthy clients, where business deals are made over sake and traditional arts, where discretion isn't just expected, it's survival. My grandmother navigated that world, earned respect in it. Think about my offer, Kaito says, standing. The movement is fluid, controlled, the body language of someone trained to move with precision. I'll have my assistant contact you tomorrow with details. I haven't said yes, I point out, though we all know I will. How can I not? This is a life raft thrown to someone who's been treading water for 2 years. Kato's smile is knowing. You will. You're smart enough to recognize an opportunity. He places several bills on the table. I glimpse hundreds, then offers his arm to his father. Hiroshi stands with the careful movement of age but accepts no help, his dignity intact. At the alcove entrance, Hiroshi turns back to me. My son is a good man, Yuki-san, despite what you may hear. He inherited my businesses, both the light and the shadow, but he inherited my sense of honor too. His eyes bore into mine. You will be safe with him. This I promise you. Then they're gone, the bodyguards falling in to step behind them, and I'm left sitting alone at a table with more cash than I make in 2 weeks, and a job offer that will either save my life or complicate it beyond recognition. Chen appears at my elbow. What the hell just happened? I'm not entirely sure, I admit, staring at the money. But I think I just got recruited into the Yakuza. Jesus, Yuki. Chen sinks into the chair Hiroshi vacated. Are you going to take it? Am I? The smart answer is no. Walk away. Keep my head down. Stick to my 2 jobs and my tiny studio apartment in Queens where the heat barely works, and the neighbors blast music until 3 a.m. Stay small. Stay safe. Stay invisible. But I'm so tired of being invisible. So tired of struggling. And there was something in Hiroshi's eyes when he mentioned my grandmother, a respect that felt genuine, a connection to the past I thought I'd lost when she died. Yeah, I say finally. I think I am. The call comes at 9 the next morning, while I'm nursing my second coffee and trying to decide if my feet will ever forgive me for last night's shift. The number is unlisted, but I answer anyway. Miss Nakamura. A woman's voice, crisp and professional. I'm calling on behalf of Kaito Takeda. He'd like to meet with you this afternoon to discuss the position. Would 2 p.m. work? Would it work? I have a shift at the bookstore at 4, but something tells me this meeting takes precedence. Yes, that works. Excellent. A car will pick you up at your address at 1:30. Please dress business casual. Wait, how do you? But she's already hung up. I stare at my phone. A car. Of course. And they know my address because they've investigated me, because in the world I'm about to enter, privacy is apparently optional. My closet offers limited business casual options. I settle on black pants that are slightly too big. I've lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. And a cream blouse I bought at a thrift store but looks decent enough. My shoes are the problem. The only professional pair I own are scuffed and dated, but they'll have to do. At exactly 1:30, my phone buzzes with a text. Car outside. The vehicle is a black Mercedes sedan with tinted windows. So clean it gleams even in the weak November sunlight. The driver, a broad-shouldered man with a face like granite, opens the rear door without speaking. I slide in, and my heart nearly stops. Kaito Takeda sits in the back seat, wearing a different suit than last night but no less expensive, his attention on a tablet in his hands. He glances up as I enter, and for a moment, his expression is unreadable. I wasn't expecting you to be here, I say, then mentally kick myself for stating the obvious. I wanted to talk to you before we reach my office. More private this way. He gestures to the seat beside him. Seatbelt. Takeshi drives like he's being chased. The driver, Takeshi, meets my eyes in the rearview mirror. There might be humor there, but it's hard to tell. As we pull into traffic, Kaito sets aside his tablet and turns to face me fully. You must have questions. About 100, I admit. Ask. Where do I even start? What does the job actually entail? Your father mentioned meetings and translation, but that's vague. I oversee several import-export businesses, Kaito begins, his tone matter of fact. Primarily dealing with Japanese goods, textiles, electronics, specialty foods. Most of my Japanese partners prefer to conduct business in their native language, even though many speak English. Your role would be to facilitate those interactions. And the shadow parts? I ask, remembering Hiroshi's words. Something like approval flickers in his eyes. Direct. I appreciate that. He pauses, seeming to choose his words carefully. My family has certain traditional obligations, connections that predate our legitimate businesses. I don't ask you to participate in anything illegal, but you may become aware of things that exist in gray areas. Gray areas like shipping routes and reminders? His eyebrows raise slightly. You understood our conversation last night? I speak fluent Japanese, and you weren't exactly whispering. No, he agrees. We weren't, because my father was testing you. seeing if you'd react, if you'd show judgment or fear. You did neither. Should I have? Most people would have. Kaido leans back, studying me with those dark, intelligent eyes. Yuki, I need someone I can trust. Someone who understands the culture I come from, who can navigate the expectations and protocols that matter to my father and his generation. But I also need someone who isn't naive about the realities of my world. You need someone like my grandmother, I say quietly. Someone who can see the shadow but doesn't flinch from it. Exactly. We drive in silence for a moment, the city sliding past the tinted windows. Then I ask the question that kept me up last night. What happens if I say no? Nothing sinister, if that's what you're worried about. Kaido's voice is wry. You go back to your 2 jobs, your studio in Queens, your life. I find someone else, though they'll be less suitable. You walk away, and we never contact you again. And if I say yes, then everything changes. Kaido's office is not what I expect. I'd braced myself for something ostentatious, gold fixtures, expensive art chosen by decorators, the kind of aggressive wealth display that screams insecurity. Instead, the penthouse suite in a glass tower overlooking Bryant Park is minimalist and refined. Clean lines, neutral colors, carefully chosen pieces that whisper rather than shout. A bonsai tree sits on a low table by the window, its careful cultivation evident in every twisted branch. My father's influence? Kaido says, noticing my attention on the tree. He says a man who cannot care for something small and patient cannot be trusted with power. It's beautiful, I say honestly. He guides me to a seating area, not the imposing desk setup I expected, but comfortable chairs arranged around a low table. A woman in her 50s appears with tea, setting down a tray with the precision of someone who's done this thousands of times. This is Michiko, Kaido introduces. She's been with my family for 20 years. Michiko, this is Nakamura Yuki, who will be joining us. Michiko bows, her eyes assessing me with the sharpness of someone who's seen people come and go, who knows which ones last and which ones don't. Welcome, Nakamura-san. Please let me know if you require anything. Once she's gone, Kaido pours the tea himself, the gesture unexpectedly intimate. She'll be your main point of contact for practical matters. Security badges, equipment, administrative questions. But you report directly to me. Security badges? I accept the cup, noting the quality of the porcelain. This building has strict protocols. You'll have access to my private elevator, this floor, and certain conference rooms. Nowhere else without prior arrangement. He sips his tea. For your safety, as much as my security. The casual mention of safety makes my stomach tighten. Am I in danger? Not immediately, but working for me means you'll be visible to people who watch my movements carefully. Business rivals, law enforcement, other interested parties. His eyes meet mine over the rim of his cup. I won't lie to you, Yuki. This position comes with risks. What kind of risks? The kind where having proper security becomes necessary. The kind where you'll need to be careful about who you trust, where you go, what you say. He sets down his cup. I'm offering you a generous salary partially because I'm asking you to alter your life in ways that go beyond normal employment. This is the moment. The point where I can still walk away. Return to my small, safe, struggling existence. But the word that echoes in my mind is small. I've been making myself small for 2 years, and I'm so tired of it. I accept, I hear myself say. The position. I accept. Kaido's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture relaxes incrementally. Good. Then we have practical matters to discuss. Over the next hour, he outlines expectations with business-like efficiency. Hours are flexible but demanding. Some early mornings, some late nights, occasional travel. I'll have an office adjacent to his, a company phone and laptop, a clothing allowance for business events. The apartment they're providing is in a secured building in Midtown, 2 bedrooms, furnished. 2 bedrooms? I interrupt. You'll need space for an office at home, and occasionally you may need to host. He slides a folder across the table. The lease is in your name, but the rent is covered as part of your compensation package. If you leave the position, you'll have 60 days to make alternative arrangements. I flip through the folder, seeing photos of an apartment that's approximately 5 times the size of my current studio, with actual windows that don't face a brick wall, and a kitchen with appliances that look less than a decade old. This is too much, I say quietly. It's appropriate for your position and necessary for my peace of mind. You'll be handling sensitive information, meeting with important people. I need you in a space that's secure and reflects well on the organization. The organization, not my company or the business. The word choice is deliberate, a reminder of what this really is. When do I start? I ask. Today, if possible. There's a meeting tomorrow morning with a textile manufacturer from Osaka. I need you there. He pulls out a phone, not the one I saw him using earlier, a different one. This is yours. It's encrypted, monitored by my security team, and should be with you always. My number is programmed in, along with Michiko's and several emergency contacts. I take the phone, feeling its weight. Another tether. The apartment is ready now. Takeshi will drive you to collect your belongings from your current place, then take you to your new one. Keigo stands, and I rise with him. Pack everything. You won't be returning to Queens. The finality of it hits me. In less than 24 hours, my entire life is being uprooted and replanted in foreign soil. I should feel panicked. Instead, I feel something closer to relief. What about my current jobs? I ask. I've already made arrangements. Sakura House and the bookstore have both been compensated for losing you without notice. Your final paychecks will be direct deposited this week, with a bonus for the inconvenience. He's thought of everything, anticipated every practical concern, smoothed every potential complication. The level of control should unnerve me. Instead, it's oddly comforting to be in the hands of someone so thoroughly competent. One more thing, Keigo says as I turn to leave. My father has requested your presence at dinner on Friday. Family dinner at his estate in Westchester. My heart skips. Family dinner? He rarely takes personal interest in my business associates. Consider it an honor. Kaido's expression is unreadable, and an expectation. Don't disappoint him, Yuki. My father's approval is not easily earned, and once lost, nearly impossible to regain. The weight of that settles on my shoulders as I leave his office. Michiko is waiting in the corridor, holding a sleek leather portfolio. Your credentials, she says, handing it to me. Building access, company credit card for business expenses, direct contact information. The car is waiting downstairs. In the elevator, I open the portfolio to find my photo already printed on a security badge. When did they even take my photo? And a black credit card with my name embossed in silver. The credit limit, visible on the attached documentation, makes my breath catch. $50,000. Takeshi says nothing during the drive to Queens, but his eyes regularly check the mirrors, scanning for threats I can't identify. When we pull up to my building, he gets out first, surveying the street before opening my door. 20 minutes, he says. Pack efficiently. My studio apartment looks even more depressing than usual, probably by contrast with where I'm headed. The carpet is stained, the walls are thin enough to hear every argument from the neighbors, and the bathroom sink has been dripping for 3 months despite repeated maintenance requests. I own so little that packing takes less than the allotted time. Clothes, books, my grandmother's tea set wrapped carefully in newspaper, a shoebox of photos and documents. The furniture is all secondhand, not worth keeping. In 15 minutes, my entire life fits into 2 suitcases and a cardboard box. Takeshi carries everything down without comment, loading it into the Mercedes's trunk while I take one last look at the building that's been my refuge and prison for 2 years. A neighbor I've never spoken to watches from a window. The bodega owner who sometimes lets me buy day-old sandwiches at a discount is sweeping his sidewalk. None of them wave goodbye. The new apartment is in a building with an actual doorman who greets Takeshi by name and welcomes me with professional warmth. The elevator requires a key card to access the upper floors. Security cameras are visible but discreet. Everything is clean, modern, safe. "This is your floor," Takeshi says as we exit on the 23rd level. 4 apartments total. The one across the hall is also ours. Security personnel rotate through. You're never truly alone here. I'm not sure if that's comforting or claustrophobic. The apartment is even better than the photos suggested. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the city, furniture that's both stylish and comfortable. The kitchen has granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. The bathroom has a soaking tub and a shower with multiple heads. The second bedroom has been set up as an office. Desk, ergonomic chair, bookshelves, a printer. Everything I could need. Food has been stocked, Takeshi informs me, setting my suitcases in the master bedroom. Michiko arranged it based on dietary preferences noted in your file. My file, I repeat, wondering what else they know about me. My favorite foods, apparently. Probably my medical history, my credit score, every embarrassing thing I've ever posted online. Takeshi's expression softens slightly. Adjustment takes time. But you're safe here, Nakamura-san. That's what matters. After he leaves, I wander through the apartment in a daze, opening cabinets to find them filled with quality staples, checking the refrigerator to find fresh produce and my preferred brand of yogurt. Someone's even stocked my preferred tea, sencha, the good kind I can't normally afford. I sink onto the couch, which is infinitely more comfortable than any furniture I've owned, and try to process what's happening. 24 hours ago, I was a struggling waitress. Now I'm living in luxury, working for a man who's probably Yakuza, preparing to have dinner with his father who definitely is. The encrypted phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m., business formal. Car picks you up at 7:30. Sleep well. K. Business formal. I own exactly one suit, purchased for my grandmother's funeral, which is both outdated and too big after my weight loss. I text back, "I'll need to shop for appropriate clothing." His response is immediate. "Already arranged. Michiko will meet you at Bergdorf's tomorrow at 6 a.m. She has your measurements." Of course she does. I should resent this level of management, this assumption that I can't handle basic tasks myself. But there's something seductive about being taken care of, about having someone anticipate my needs before I even voice them. It's been so long since anyone cared whether I had proper work clothes or enough food or a safe place to sleep. That night, I lie in a bed with sheets that feel like silk, staring at a ceiling that's not stained or cracked, listening to silence instead of neighbors shouting. I should feel grateful. I do feel grateful. But I also feel the weight of what I've agreed to, the invisible chains of debt and obligation settling around me. Kaido saved me from drowning, but what does he expect in return? The pre-dawn shopping trip with Michiko is surreal. We're the only customers in Bergdorf Goodman at 6 a.m. The store opened early specifically for us. Personal shoppers have already pulled selections based on my measurements. Suits in charcoal and navy, silk blouses in jewel tones, shoes that cost more than my monthly rent used to, even a stunning cocktail dress for evening events. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Mr. Takeda has excellent taste, one of the shoppers comments, holding up a cashmere blazer in deep burgundy. These selections show real consideration for your coloring and build. I blink. Mr. Takeda chose these? Michiko's smile is knowing. He sent photos and specifications. He's very particular about presentation. The idea of Kaido thinking about what colors suit me, what styles would be appropriate, feels oddly intimate. He's dressing me like a doll, but a doll he actually cares about aesthetics of rather than just utility. By 7 a.m., I'm wearing a slate gray suit that fits like it was made for me, paired with a cream silk blouse and heels that are surprisingly comfortable. My hair is styled in a sleek bun, my makeup professionally applied by a Bergdorf beauty consultant. The woman in the mirror looks competent, sophisticated, expensive. She doesn't look like someone who was serving ramen 2 days ago. Perfect, Michiko declares. Mr. Takeda will be pleased. Takeshi collects me at 7:30 sharp, and we drive to a different building in the financial district. This one is older, more traditional, with marble lobbies and brass fixtures. The meeting is in a conference room on the 14th floor, where Kaido waits with 2 other men I don't recognize, and one I do. His father. Hiroshi Takeda stands as I enter, his approval evident in his slight nod. Yuki-san, you look well. I bow properly. Thank you, Takeda-sama. It's an honor to see you again. Come, meet our guests. They've just arrived from Osaka. He guides me toward 2 older Japanese men in immaculate suits. Yamamoto-san, Kimura-san, may I present Nakamura Yuki, who will be assisting with translation and documentation. The meeting lasts 3 hours. It's complex, technical, involving textile imports and distribution agreements, and terminology I have to stretch my Japanese to translate accurately. But I manage, conveying not just words but tone and implication, the subtle shadings that matter in Japanese business culture. Kaido says little, letting his father lead most of the discussion, but his eyes track every exchange, processing information with visible intelligence. When I translate something particularly complex, his gaze meets mine with what might be respect. During a break for tea, Yamamoto-san approaches me. Your Japanese is exceptional, Nakamura-san. Where did you study? My grandmother taught me, I reply. She was very traditional about language. Nakamura Emiko of Gion. Hiroshi interjects smoothly. Perhaps you knew of her, Yamamoto-san. She managed the Tanaka Ochaya for many years. Yamamoto's eyes widen. The famous Emiko-san? She was legendary for her discretion and grace. He turns to me with new respect. You are her granddaughter? Then you come from impeccable lineage. Something about the exchange feels orchestrated, as if Hiroshi has deliberately given me a pedigree that elevates my status in these men's eyes. It's manipulation, but manipulation in my favor, and I'm grateful for it. By the time the meeting concludes, agreements have been reached, papers signed, and the Osaka businessmen are impressed enough to invite us to dinner when Kaido next visits Japan. As they leave, Yamamoto presses his business card into my hand. If you ever wish to return to Japan, Nakamura-san, please contact me. Women with your skills and breeding are rare. When we're alone, Hiroshi turns to me with satisfaction. You did well. Better than well. You understood not just the language but the context, the relationships. This is why you're valuable, Yuki-san. Thank you, Takeda-sama. Kaido has been silent, but now he speaks. Father, could you give us a moment? Hiroshi's eyes flick between us, something like amusement in their depths. Of course. I have other matters to attend to. Yuki-san, I look forward to seeing you Friday evening. 7 o'clock. I'll send a car. He leaves with his characteristic dignity, and then it's just Kaido and me in the conference room. You exceeded expectations, he says without preamble. Yamamoto is notoriously difficult to impress, and you managed it effortlessly. Your father helped, I point out. Mentioning my grandmother was strategic. It was, but you earned the respect yourself. He moves closer, and I'm suddenly aware of how tall he is, how the room seems smaller with just the two of us. This is what I need from you, Yuki. Not just translation, but bridge building. You can move between both worlds because you belong to both. I don't know if I belong anywhere, I admit, before I can stop myself. His expression softens almost imperceptibly. You do now. You belong here, with us. The possessive pronoun sends a flutter through my chest. Which is why I need you to understand something. What? There's a situation developing. Nothing you need to worry about yet, but something you should be aware of. He pulls out his phone, shows me a photo of a man in his 40s, Western, with cold eyes and a calculating expression. Daniel Morrison. He runs a competing import business, mostly legitimate but with questionable connections. He's been trying to undercut my contracts, poach my contacts, and generally make himself a problem. Okay, I say slowly, wondering why he's telling me this. Yesterday, Morrison made inquiries about you. Who you are, where you came from, what your relationship is to me. Kaido's voice hardens. He's looking for leverage. My stomach drops. I'm leverage? You're someone I've brought into my inner circle very quickly. To people like Morrison, that signals importance, potential weakness they can exploit. His eyes hold mine, which is why you need to be careful. Don't go anywhere without telling me or Takeshi. Don't engage with strangers who seem too interested in you. And if anyone approaches you asking questions about me or my business, you tell me immediately. The reality of what I've stepped into crystallizes. I'm not just an employee. I'm a potential target, a piece on a chessboard in a game I barely understand. You're frightening me, I say honestly. Good. Fear keeps you alert. But his voice gentles. But I also want you to know that you're protected. Takeshi isn't just a driver. He's a security specialist. The apartment building has a team that reports to me, and I won't let anything happen to you, Yuki. That's a promise. The intensity in his voice, the protective fury barely leashed beneath his control, does something complicated to my insides. This is a man capable of violence, probably guilty of things I don't want to know about. But that capacity for darkness is being directed at protecting me. Why? I ask. Why am I worth all this trouble? You just met me 2 days ago. Keigo is quiet for a long moment, his gaze searching my face as if trying to decide how much truth to share. Finally, because my father smiled when you greeted him in proper Keigo. Because I watched you navigate that meeting with intelligence and grace. Because you're alone in this city. And I understand what that's like. His voice drops lower. And because when I look at you, I see someone worth protecting. The confession hangs between us, more intimate than anything physical could be. I'm suddenly acutely aware that we're alone in this conference room, that he's close enough that I can smell his cologne, something woody and expensive, that his eyes are darker than I thought, nearly black in certain light. I should go, I say, my voice not entirely steady. I should. You have the rest of the day off, he says, stepping back, giving me space. Settle into your apartment. Rest. Tomorrow we have another meeting, this one with a restaurant group from Tokyo. I nod, grateful for the reprieve, and make my way to the door. But his voice stops me. Yuki. I turn back. Thank you for taking a chance on us. On me. I know this isn't what you expected from your life. No. I agree. It's not. But maybe that's not a bad thing. His smile, when it comes, is genuine and transforms his entire face. Maybe not. The week passes in a blur of meetings, translations, and gradual integration into Kaido's world. I meet more of his associates, some legitimate businessmen, others with the unmistakable edge of Yakuza connections. I learn the hierarchy, who defers to whom, which relationships are cordial, and which are barely civil. Michiko becomes my guide through the administrative complexities. She teaches me Kaido's preferences, how he takes his tea, which meetings require formal dress versus business casual, how to anticipate his needs before he voices them. She's stern, but fair, and I sense she's testing me, waiting to see if I'll last. "You're the fifth assistant he's tried in 2 years," she tells me one afternoon as we organize files. The others couldn't handle the pressure. Or they got too curious about aspects of the business they shouldn't. "What happened to them?" I ask. "Nothing dramatic. They were compensated and sent away." She pins me with a sharp look. But they didn't last because they couldn't accept the contradictions. They wanted Kato to be purely good, or purely bad. And he's neither. He's complicated. I'm beginning to understand what she means. I see Kaido donate $250,000 to a children's hospital one day, then overhear a phone conversation about handling someone who's become a problem the next. He's gentle with elderly clients, respectful to service workers, and unfailingly courteous to me. But there's steel beneath the polish, a capacity for ruthlessness that emerges when necessary. The contradictions should bother me more than they do. But I've learned that the world isn't binary. People contain multitudes, and maybe I'm drawn to the complexity because it feels honest. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not. Friday arrives with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Family dinner with Hiroshi Takeda feels like a test I'm not sure I'll pass. Michiko has selected my outfit. The cocktail dress from that first shopping trip. A deep navy silk that falls just below the knee, paired with pearl earrings that were a gift from Takeda-sama sent this afternoon. The earrings are real, clearly expensive, and carry the weight of expectation. Hiroshi is marking me as under his protection, as someone worth adorning with his family's resources. The drive to Westchester takes nearly an hour. Takeshi makes the trip, with Kaido beside me in the back seat. He's quieter than usual, and I sense he's as nervous as I am, though he hides it better. "My father's estate is traditional," he warns. "Remove your shoes at the entrance. Bow when greeting him. He'll probably have you sit in a position of honor, which means next to him. Don't refuse any food he offers you directly. It would be a grave insult." "Noted," I say, my hands twisting in my lap. Kaido's hand covers mine, stilling the nervous movement. His palm is warm, calloused in ways that suggest weapons training or martial arts. "You'll be fine. He already likes you. This is just formality." But we both know it's more than that. The estate, when we arrive, takes my breath away. It's a traditional Japanese house somehow transplanted to upstate New York. Low-slung wooden structures with swooping rooflines, surrounded by carefully manicured gardens and stone lanterns. A koi pond reflects the evening sky. Bamboo creates natural privacy screens. "He built this 10 years ago," Kaido says, as we walk through the gardens toward the main house. "After my mother died, he wanted something that reminded him of home, of who he used to be before America complicated everything." The sadness in his voice catches me off guard. "You miss her too." "Every day." He looks at me then, and there's vulnerability in his eyes I haven't seen before. "She would have liked you, I think. She always said I needed someone who could stand up to both me and my father without losing themselves." Before I can respond, the door slides open, and Hiroshi Takeda stands in the entrance, wearing a formal kimono, his silver hair catching the fading sunlight. "Welcome," he says in Japanese and bows. Not deeply, I'm not his social superior, but enough to show respect. I bow lower, as is proper. "Takeda-sama, thank you for your gracious invitation." His smile is warm. "Come, come. Dinner is prepared." Inside, the house is a masterpiece of traditional Japanese architecture meeting modern luxury. Tatami mats cover the floors, shoji screens divide spaces, but subtle heating keeps the rooms comfortable, and the lighting is perfect. Neither too bright nor too dim. The scent of incense mingles with something savory from the kitchen. Hiroshi leads us to a dining room where a low table is set with exquisite ceramics. Cushions surround it, and I'm grateful I practiced sitting in Seiza, formal kneeling position, in my apartment this week, knowing it might be required. But Hiroshi gestures to a cushion with a back support. Please, Yuki-san, comfort is important for good conversation. The meal is extraordinary. Course after course of traditional Japanese cuisine, prepared with obvious skill. Hiroshi serves me personally several times, an honor that makes my throat tight. Between courses, he asks about my work with Keigo, my impressions of New York, my grandmother's teachings. Emiko-san had a profound impact on you, he observes, refilling my sake cup. I can see her influence in your manner, your bearing. She would be proud of the woman you've become. I hope so, I say quietly. I think about her every day. Wonder if I'm honoring her memory or disappointing it. Why would you disappoint it? Hiroshi asks. I glance at Kaito, who's watching this exchange with careful attention. Because the world I've entered is complicated, morally ambiguous. My grandmother valued honor above everything, and I'm not always sure what honor means in this context. Hiroshi sets down his cup, his expression serious. Honor is not purity, Yuki-san. It is not living in a world without shadow. Honor is keeping your word, protecting those weaker than yourself, respecting the bonds of obligation and loyalty. A man or woman can live in darkness and still maintain honor if they adhere to these principles. And if the darkness becomes too much, I ask, if the compromises required erode who you are, then you leave, Hiroshi says simply, but you leave with honesty, not deception. You break the bond cleanly, not with betrayal. His eyes hold mine. This is why I wanted you here tonight, Yuki-san. To tell you that you are under my protection now. You work for my son, yes, but you are also part of our family. And family means you have a choice. Always. No one will force you to stay if this life becomes unbearable. The unexpected gift of that, the permission to leave, makes my eyes burn with unshed tears. Thank you, Takeda-sama. But, he continues, his voice warming with something like affection, I do not think you will leave. I think you have found where you belong. Am I wrong? I look at Kaito, who's been silent through this exchange. His expression is carefully neutral, but his eyes hold something vulnerable, something hoping. And I realize with startling clarity that I do belong here. Not just in this beautiful house or this world of power and danger, but here, with these complicated men who've made space for me in their lives. No, I say softly. You're not wrong. Hiroshi's smile is radiant. He raises his sake cup. Then let us drink to new beginnings and old honors. We drink, and the formality of the evening eases into something warmer, more familial. Hiroshi tells stories about Kaito's childhood, embarrassing anecdotes that make his son groan and me laugh. Keigo retaliates with stories about his father's stubborn adherence to tradition, like the time he insisted on wearing full kimono to a shareholders' meeting in Manhattan. By the time dinner ends, I feel lighter than I have in years. Accepted, wanted, part of something larger than my small, isolated existence. As Hiroshi walks us to the door, he places a hand on my shoulder. Yuki-san, there is one more thing I must tell you. Yes, Takeda-sama? My son has been alone for too long. He works too much, trusts too little, allows no one close. His eyes are serious. But you, I think, have the strength to reach him. The question is whether you have the courage. Before I can respond, he's bowing us out, and Kaido is guiding me toward the car with a hand at the small of my back. We ride in silence for several minutes, the city lights growing brighter as we approach Manhattan. Finally, Kaido speaks. My father has never said anything like that about anyone I've brought to meet him. Have there been many? I ask, trying for lightness. A few. Business associates mostly. One woman I dated briefly 3 years ago. He's quiet for a moment. He sent her away. Said she didn't have the spine to survive in our world. And me? He thinks you're perfect. Kaido turns to face me fully. And he's right. The intensity in his voice, in his gaze, makes my breath catch. Kaido, I know this is fast. I know you're still adjusting, but I need you to know that this isn't just business for me anymore, Yuki. If it ever was. His hand finds mine in the darkness of the car. You've become important to me. More important than is probably wise. My heart hammers against my ribs. That's terrifying. I know. His thumb traces circles on the back of my hand. But sometimes the terrifying thing is also the right thing. The car pulls up to my building and Takeshi discreetly remains in the driver's seat as Kaido walks me to the entrance. In the lobby, with the doorman pretending not to watch, Kaido cups my face gently with one hand. Sleep well, Yuki. I'll see you Monday morning. He doesn't kiss me. Doesn't push for more. Just that tender touch. That promise of seeing me again. And then he's gone. And I'm alone in my beautiful apartment, touching my cheek where his hand had been. The weekend passes in a strange suspension. I organize my apartment, video call with a former coworker from the bookstore who's shocked by my new circumstances, and try not to think too much about Kaido's words or the way Hiroshi looked at us like we were already a couple. Monday morning brings a return to routine. Meetings, translations, the comfortable rhythm of working alongside Kaido. But there's a new awareness between us, a tension that's not uncomfortable but charged, full of possibility. Wednesday afternoon, everything changes. I'm in my office, reviewing contracts, when Michiko appears in the doorway, her face pale. Yuki-san, I need you to come with me. Now. The urgency in her voice spikes my adrenaline. What's wrong? Mr. Takeda needs you. Conference room. Quickly. I follow her down the hall to find Kaido with Takeshi and 2 other security personnel I recognize from the building. Kaido's expression is thunderous, his jaw tight with barely controlled fury. What happened? I ask. He hands me his phone. On the screen is a photo of me leaving my apartment building this morning. The angle suggests it was taken from a car across the street with a telephoto lens. There are more photos. Me getting coffee at a nearby cafe, me entering this building, me through the window of my office. Someone has been following me, photographing me. Morrison, Kaido says, his voice deadly quiet. He had you surveilled. These photos were delivered to my office an hour ago with a note. He shows me the note, typed on expensive stationery. Beautiful assistant. Shame if something happened to her. Let's talk about your Osaka contracts. Ice floods my veins. This is a threat. An explicit, undeniable threat against me to pressure Kaido into some kind of deal. I'm pulling you off active duties, Kaido says. You'll work from home until this is resolved. Takeshi will be with you whenever you leave the apartment. No exceptions. No, I hear myself say. Everyone turns to stare at me. No. Kaido's voice is dangerously soft. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to be the weak point Morrison thinks I am. I straighten my spine, channeling every ounce of strength my grandmother ever taught me. If you pull me out of sight, you confirm that I'm your vulnerability, that he can manipulate you by threatening me. He can manipulate me by threatening you, Kaido snaps. Because you are my vulnerability, Yuki. Don't you understand that? If something happened to you, he cuts himself off, jaw working. Then let's make sure nothing happens, I counter, but on our terms, not his. Use me as bait if you have to, let him think he's winning, and then deal with him however you need to deal with him. Takeshi makes a sound that might be approval. Michiko looks torn between admiration and horror. But Kaido's expression is pure fury. Absolutely not. I won't use you as bait. I won't put you in danger. I'm already in danger, I point out. At least let me help control the situation instead of being a passive victim. We stare at each other, wills clashing. Finally, Takeshi clears his throat. She has a point, Takeda-san. Morrison will escalate regardless. Better to dictate the terms of engagement. Kaido turns his glare on his security chief, but Takeshi doesn't flinch. After a long, tense moment, Kaito exhales sharply. Fine. But we do this carefully, controlled conditions. And if at any point I think you're in real danger, you pull out immediately. Understood? Understood. I agree. Over the next hour, we plan. Morrison wants to meet, supposedly to discuss business. Kaido will agree, with the condition that it's at a restaurant of his choosing. Neutral ground, but with security he can position. I'll attend as his translator for the supposed Japanese partners he'll claim are joining. Morrison will see me, will think he has the leverage he wants. And then Kato and his father will make their move. Exactly what that move entails, they don't fully explain, and I don't ask. Some things are better left as plausible deniability. The meeting is set for Friday night. 3 days to prepare, to anticipate variables, to shore up security. 3 days of Kaido barely letting me out of his sight, his protective instincts on high alert. Thursday evening, he appears at my apartment with takeout from an expensive sushi restaurant. Takeshi is stationed in the hallway, giving us privacy but close enough to respond to any threat. You shouldn't be here, I say, letting him in. If Morrison is watching, let him watch, Kaido says grimly. Let him see exactly what you mean to me. It'll make him overconfident. We eat in companionable silence, and then Kaido moves to the window, staring out at the city lights. I should never have brought you into this. You'd be safe if I'd just let you walk away that first night. I join him at the window. I don't want safe. Not if it means going back to what I was. Small, scared, alone. You gave me a life, Kato. Purpose. Belonging. I'm not going to let some two-bit gangster take that away. He turns to me, and the vulnerability in his eyes steals my breath. If something happens to you tomorrow, it won't. But if it does, he takes my hands in his. I need you to know that these past few weeks, having you in my life, it's been the closest thing to happiness I've felt since my mother died. You make the darkness bearable, Yuki. You make me want to be better than I am. You're already better than you think, I say softly, reaching up to touch his face. You're complicated, yes. Dangerous, definitely. But you're also honorable in your own way. Protective, loyal. Those things matter. He leans into my touch, his eyes closing briefly. When they open, they're full of intent. May I kiss you? The question, the request for permission rather than assumption of entitlement, is so perfectly him, controlled even in desire, respectful even in wanting. Yes, I whisper. His kiss is nothing like I expected. Not aggressive or demanding, but gentle, questioning, giving me space to respond or retreat. I respond, my hand sliding into his hair, pressing closer, and the kiss deepens into something that makes my knees weak and my heart race. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, he rests his forehead against mine. Stay safe tomorrow. Please. For me. For us. I correct. I'll stay safe for us. Friday evening arrives with crystalline clarity. Every detail feels sharp, significant. The black dress Michiko selected is simple but elegant, the pearl earrings Hiroshi gave me catching the light. My hair is down, falling in dark waves over my shoulders. I look softer, more vulnerable than usual. Deliberate choice, meant to make Morrison underestimate me. The restaurant is Italian, upscale, with private rooms in the back. Kaido's people have been here all day, checking sight lines, planting listening devices, ensuring exits are clear. Takeshi and 3 other security personnel are positioned throughout the restaurant, invisible to casual observation but ready. Hiroshi arrives separately, entering through a side entrance, settling into a private booth with clear view of the main dining room. His presence is insurance, backup, and also message. The Takeda family stands united. Morrison arrives exactly on time. He's tall, Anglo-Saxon handsome in the way of men who've used their looks to slide through life, with cold blue eyes that assess me like I'm livestock. 2 men flank him, obviously security, obviously armed. Takeda, Morrison says, extending a hand that Kaido accepts with professional courtesy. And this must be the famous assistant, Yuki, isn't it? Nakamura, I correct coolly, not offering my first name so casually. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. Of course. Shall we sit? The dinner proceeds with surface pleasantries hiding razor-blade tension. Morrison makes his pitch. He wants Kaido's Osaka contracts, particularly the textile agreements with Yamamoto. He's willing to pay, but the numbers he offers are insultingly low. These contracts are not for sale, Kaido says calmly. Everything's for sale at the right price. Morrison's eyes slide to me. Or perhaps we could make another arrangement. I'm always looking for quality translators. Miss Nakamura's skills are impressive. The threat is barely veiled. Work with me, or I'll take her from you. Kaido's hand tightens almost imperceptibly on his wineglass. Miss Nakamura is not negotiable. Isn't she, though? Morrison leans forward. See, Takeda, you've made a mistake. You've shown weakness. You care about this girl, which means she's leverage. And in our world, leverage is everything. In your world, perhaps, comes a voice from behind us. Hiroshi Takeda appears, moving with the fluid grace of a man 40 years younger. In ours, family is sacred. Morrison's confident expression falters. Hiroshi Takeda, I didn't realize you'd be joining us. Did you not? How unfortunate. Hiroshi sits without invitation, his presence shifting the power dynamic entirely. You threatened my son's assistant, someone who has been welcomed into our family. This is deeply disrespectful, Morrison-san. The honorific is mocking, a twist of Japanese courtesy into insult. Just business, Morrison tries, but his voice has lost its certainty. No, Hiroshi says softly. Business is negotiation, compromise, mutual benefit. What you attempted is extortion through threat of violence. Very different things. He glances at me. Yuki-san, would you please tell Morrison what we discovered about his operations? This is my moment. The role we planned. I pull out my tablet, opening files we compiled over the past 3 days, Kaido's people working around the clock. Mr. Morrison, I say in perfect professional English, your company has been underreporting import values to customs by approximately 40%. You've also been smuggling counterfeit goods through your legitimate shipments. And there's the matter of the insurance fraud last year, the warehouse fire that was very clearly arson. Morrison goes pale. You can't prove any of that. Actually, we can. I slide documents across the table, photocopies, but clearly authentic. Shipping manifests, customs declarations, insurance claims, security footage. We've compiled everything into a very thorough dossier, which we'll deliver to the appropriate authorities, Kaido adds, his voice like ice, unless you agree to certain terms. Morrison looks between us, trapped. What terms? You cease all operations in New York. You sell your business to a buyer we designate at fair market value, and you leave this city within 30 days. Hiroshi's voice is implacable. In exchange, the evidence stays sealed. You're forcing me out? Morrison's voice rises. You can't. We can, and we are. Keigo interrupts. You made this personal when you threatened Yuki. Now you face the consequences. Morrison's security personnel have shifted, hands moving toward weapons. But suddenly Takeshi and the other Takeda security appear, positioned strategically, making clear that any violence will go very badly for Morrison's people. For a long moment, the restaurant seems frozen. Then Morrison deflates, recognizing he's lost. Fine, he spits. I'll take your deal. But this isn't over, Takeda. Yes, Hiroshi says gently. It is. And Morrison-san, if you attempt any retaliation, if you so much as look in Miss Nakamura's direction again, what we have prepared for you now will seem merciful compared to what will follow. Do we understand each other? Morrison nods once, jerky, and stands. Perfectly clear. After he leaves, escorted out by his security and ours, the tension drains from the room. Kaido's hand finds mine under the table, gripping tight. You are perfect, he murmurs. Absolutely perfect. Hiroshi's smile is proud. I told you, Kaido. She has the spine for this world, the intelligence, the courage. He bows to me, a gesture of profound respect. Thank you, Yuki-san, for standing with my son, for standing with our family. The formal acknowledgement, the public claim, makes my throat tight. It's my honor, Takeda-sama. Later, after the adrenaline has faded, after Hiroshi has left with promises to handle the legal details of Morrison's exit, Kaido drives me home himself. No driver, no security presence, just the two of us in the quiet darkness of the car. I was terrified, he admits, as we sit in the parking garage of my building. The entire time, I was terrified something would go wrong, that Morrison would do something desperate. But it didn't. We planned well. We executed perfectly. I turned to face him. And I wasn't afraid, Kaido. Not with you beside me. His hand cups my cheek, thumb stroking along my cheekbone. How did I get so lucky? To find you, of all people, in all this city? Maybe your father was right. Maybe some things are meant to be. My father, Kaido says with a slight smile, has been pressuring me to bring you to family dinner every week. He's quite taken with you. The feeling is mutual. He reminds me of my grandmother. That same combination of traditional values and steel spine. He said to me today that you're the daughter he never had. That if I let you slip away, he'll disown me. Kaido's voice is tender, vulnerable. And he's not wrong. You've become essential to me, Yuki. To my work, yes, but more than that. To my life. To who I am. I love you, I say, the words slipping out before I can second-guess them. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated, but I love you. Your strength and your contradictions. Your honor and your darkness. All of it. The expression on his face is something between wonder and relief. I love you too. Have since that first night, when you spoke to my father with such perfect respect. When you looked at me without fear, only curiosity. He kisses me gently. Will you let me keep you, Yuki? Not as an employee or an asset, but as my partner? In everything? Yes, I whisper against his lips. Yes. 6 months later, I stand in Hiroshi's garden, wearing a white kimono embroidered with cherry blossoms. The ceremony is small, just family and close associates, but deeply traditional. Kaito wears a black Monsuki Haori hakama, looking every inch the Yakuza prince his father raised him to be. Hiroshi performs the Sansankudo himself, the ceremonial sharing of sake that binds us together. His hands are steady as he pours, his eyes bright. With emotion he doesn't bother hiding. You honor our family, Yuki-san, he says in Japanese when the ceremony concludes. Your grandmother would be proud. I know her spirit watches today with joy. Thank you, Otu-sama, I reply, using the formal term for father, and his smile is radiant. The reception flows from the gardens into the house, from traditional Japanese formality into something warmer, more celebratory. My former co-workers from Sakura House are here, shocked and delighted by my transformation. Michiko, now officially my assistant as much as Kaito's, coordinates everything with her usual efficiency. Takeshi stands as Kaito's best man, his gruff exterior cracking just enough to show genuine affection. As evening falls and paper lanterns illuminate the garden, Kaito and I slip away to a quiet corner by the koi pond. The same pond where, months ago, I first saw this estate and wondered if I could ever belong in such a world. Any regrets? Kaito asks, his arm around my waist, holding me close. Not one. And it's true. The life I've built, the position as his executive assistant now elevated to something closer to partner, the work navigating Japanese-American business relationships, the family I've found with Hiroshi, and even the extended Takeda organization. It fits me in a way my old life never did. My father asked today when we're giving him grandchildren, Kaito says with amusement. I told him to be patient. How patient? I tease. His eyes darken with promise. That depends on what you want. I want everything, I say honestly. A family, a purpose, a life that matters. I want to stand beside you as you navigate both the light and shadow of your world. I want to make your father's old age joyful. I want to honor my grandmother's memory by living fully, courageously, authentically. Then we'll have everything, Kaito promises, kissing me as the lanterns glow and the water ripples, and somewhere in the house, Hiroshi laughs at something Michiko has said. This is not the life I imagined when I fled Seattle with nothing but a suitcase and desperate hope. It's not the safe, simple existence I thought I wanted when I served ramen to businessmen and counted pennies. It's better. Complicated, yes. Dangerous at times, certainly. But real in a way nothing else has ever been. I am seen here, valued, loved, not despite my strength, but because of it. I have found family not in blood but in choice, in the bonds of respect and loyalty that Hiroshi taught me to recognize and honor. As we return to the reception, Hiroshi catches my eye across the garden. He raises his sake cup in a subtle toast, and I bow in return. A granddaughter acknowledging her father, a student honoring her teacher, a woman grateful to the man who saw her worth before she fully recognized it herself. The night stretches ahead, full of celebration and promise. Tomorrow we leave for Japan, a belated honeymoon and business trip combined, visiting the Osaka partners, touring factories and staying with distant Takeda relatives who are eager to meet the American granddaughter who won Hiroshi's impossible approval. But for now, in this moment, I am simply happy. Whole in a way I haven't been since my grandmother died. No longer small, no longer invisible, no longer alone. I am Nakamura Yuki, now Takeda Yuki, wife, partner, bridge between worlds, granddaughter of Emiko and daughter of Hiroshi, beloved of Kaito, and I am finally, completely, home. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.